Hi, everybody, and thank you for tuning into episode 8 of the Real Heroes Don't Wear Capes podcast. I'm Stephanie Carter, here with Crystal Sutherland and Michael Weens from the HS Heroes team. And today we're joined by special guest Suzanne Moloney. Suzanne, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks a million. It's great to be here. I'm Suzanne Moloney. I'm the founder of a company called Hidradenitis Solutions, and we make Hydrawear. I've also had HS since I was a child, and I suppose share a lot of your experiences and a lot of the HS patient community experience. And I'm just delighted to be here to share some of my story and to chit chat with you guys.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. I was hoping we can maybe kick it off by you telling us a little bit more of when you first developed HS and what led you to initially kind of the spark for Hidradenitis Solutions and Hydrawear.
Sure. Okay. So I was about 12 or 13. I don't remember the exact age, but I remember I was finishing primary school, moving into secondary school, that kind of age. And I started getting little lumps and bumps around my bikini line. And like so many other people with HS, I just was mortified and thought there was something really wrong with me. Thought I had an STD, even though I was a child. So it was just so ridiculous. But, you know, your body's changing so much and you're just learning about sex and you don't really know what's happening. So I hid it for a long time. And they came and went. And I used to have a bath every night. Like I started becoming a bit obsessed with taking baths and researching, you know, my parents were pharmacists, so we had a lot of medical books. So I'd be reading them about boils and seeing how I could treat it at home. But by the time I was 17, it got so bad, and I was, you know, kind of covered with them down there that I had to show my mum, and she brought me to the doctor. And like so many other people, again, it was not recognized, and I was just given antibiotics, and that kind of occurred again and again until I was in my 20s. And eventually I was sent to the emergency department actually for an emergency surgery. The doctor thought I had a cellulitis on my buttocks, and it was HS, but they removed kind of quite a big area of my skin there. And yeah, that was my first surgery. And after that, I healed up, it came back, and I was referred then to a colorectal surgeon because of the kind of area that was most predominantly affected. And the colorectal surgeon thought I might have Crohn's disease because I don't know the exact nature of it, but there's some symptom of Crohn's that causes boils around the bum, basically. So he did a surgery. I didn't have Crohn's. He removed some more HS. Well, it wasn't HS. It wasn't diagnosed at the time, but this happened about 3 or 4 times where I was having kind of surgeries every couple of, maybe twice a year. And he just started looking into it because he was so baffled. And he diagnosed me eventually and sent me to a dermatologist. And then I suppose the two of them collaborated on my treatment. And yeah, it was great getting a name for the condition and understanding. I remember it so well because he was telling me how close it was to my like sphincter muscles, that there's quite a risk that, you know, he'll have to cut through them and there'll be a lot of complications. There might be complications later on if I want to have kids and things like that. And I remember just being so like overwhelmed with, you know, trying to digest that kind of information as a young kind of, I think I was 22 or 23. It was really shocking. I was relieved in one sense to have a name for the disease, but then also just completely overwhelmed by what I was being told. And then reading up on it and the information, there's so much information available, and gosh, knowing that there was no cure, it was quite hard to come to terms with as well. But I'm a very optimistic person and very proactive person, so, you know, it took me a while to get my head around that, but then I started to accept it, I suppose. One thing over the years that always was difficult for me was just managing the exudate or the drainage that was coming out of them. And and this is very common as well, it's not unique to me, but I'd be kind of, very self-conscious about draining onto my clothes, leaking, dressings falling off. I tried everything, like so many of us again, like, kind of cobbling together things, makeshift dressings, using sanitary towels or panty liners or, just anything. And one night I was at a party, at my friend's hen party, and I was meeting her mother-in-law for the first time. And I had a dressing taped into my armpit and it fell out of my top onto the ground. And I'd always had this idea for like a wound dressing specifically for HS. Even before I even had the name for it, was the diagnosis, I was still trying to, I'd always had this idea of how to manage it. And I think that was the moment when I said, you know what, this is ridiculous now. I live with this kind of anxiety all the time. Most people, when they're going to a party, are thinking about what they're going to wear and, what lipstick will I put on? What dress will I wear? And people like me have to think about how we're going to tape ourselves up before we can even consider what dress to wear, or if we will even wear a dress. So that was the moment that I said, enough is enough. I was so embarrassed. I was also really angry because I was just completely baffled that there was nothing available to me when, humans are really creative beings. We can put people on the moon. We can, send cars into space. Why am I not able to dress this lesion in my armpit so that I don't have to worry about it? So I went to a product designer. Actually, I emailed a product designer a couple of nights later. And I suppose I should say I used to be a baker and a chef. Stephanie, I love your cookies. I'm obsessed with them because I used to work in that area and I know how hard they are, and how particular and precious it is to work on a piped cookie. Oh my God. And I used to do that. So I'd no medical background, no technical background, and no kind of engineering or medical device background. But I went to a product designer on my own with the idea to see if we could if we could take what was in my head and make it into a thing. And that didn't really work out actually with that guy. We kind of hit a couple of dead ends. But ultimately, and it's a very nice story, I asked a different product designer whose wedding cake I'd made about 5 years previously, did he know anyone that could help me? He's a device, he's not a medical product designer, but I just asked him, what's the process? Can you point me in the right direction? And he pointed me towards an organization in Ireland called Enterprise Ireland. And they gave me a small grant that I co-funded. So I paid for half of the amount, and Enterprise Ireland matched it. And I was able to develop a prototype with some medical device designers linked in with the university here. And then I had my prototype for the crop top garment. It was so cute. I must see if I can get a picture for you actually. And then from that, I was able to pitch it to another organization called the Health Innovation Hub. And their job is to help usually people within the health service here to take their innovations into the health service. But they liked what I was trying to do, and they were really shocked at the prevalence of HS, that they'd never heard about it, and that the amount of people struggling with this condition on a day-to-day basis. And they just saw the value of what I was trying to do. So they connected me to a different group who I had to apply to. It was called BioExcel. It was a 6-month training program where you're trained in medical devices and you're also given some funding to develop your product a bit more. So I was accepted onto that. I moved from Dublin to Galway to do that back in 2018. And then I basically stayed in Galway. So things just really took off after BioExcel, because every time I pitched this, and I was doing a lot of Dragon's Den. Do you have the Dragon's Den in Canada? Or Shark Tank?
Shark Tank, yeah.
So yeah, I was doing a lot of Shark Tank kind of pitches, and was successful enough in them, and I was able to then hire my colleague Conan into the company, and then we went and did even bigger Shark Tank style pitches and got some significant investment into the company, and we were able to hire some more people like Laura, our quality manager, Damien, our customer service and demand planner, and it just kind of grew from there. So it's been a heck of a journey, but it's been so worthwhile. And one of the things I love about what I'm doing is I started this to help myself to just get by with my day-to-day life, and then I became ingrained in a HS group, an Irish HS group, and you could see actually this isn't just a problem that I'm experiencing. There's a lot of people struggling with this, and I just feel like I'm doing something really worthwhile, and it gives me a lot of motivation and joy. Actually, I absolutely love what I'm doing now, and I've met some amazing people through the whole process. So that's me in a nutshell.
And the Hydrowear garment, is it underwear now as well?
Yeah, so there's the crop top. That was the first product we developed. Ideally, in an ideal scenario, we'd have done everything at once, but you know, we were a startup, and it's a very niche, and I say that with like inverted commas because I think it's a huge problem. But in the eyes of industry, it's a niche problem, and so we had to get our funding. We had to kind of first of all prove that there is a problem to people who were going to invest in us, and then I suppose just the stages that we got in funding, we developed in line with that. So yeah, in an ideal world, we'd have done everything at once, but we had to stage it. So the crop top was the first product that we developed, the crop top and the super absorbent pads that go into the crop top. And then we did the t-shirt, the t-shirt garment for men and women, and then underwear for women and underwear for men. They're kind of boxer brief style garments. They're so comfortable.
And the use of them, it's really good for people who have adhesive allergies or very sensitive skin to adhesive, because it eliminates the use of needing adhesive, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was one of my biggest bugbears, was taping up my armpits or thighs, and I would be putting an adhesive dressing on and it would move straight away. And then so to stop that happening, I'd be putting tape across my chest and up onto my back or onto my side, all the stretching and, you know, twisting and turning just to try. And then it moves anyway, like even though you've tried so hard.
Or it rips all your skin off in the,
yeah.
You know, like I felt like I was getting like secondary injuries from the having to tape and try and get stuff on, and also just being in a hard to adhere something spot, right? Like
there's like almost nothing created specifically for creases, like wounds and creases of the body. You're always having to take extra time, cut things to fit. Sometimes you're cutting like little, you know, like wedges out of it so it moves easier. It takes so much time. There's just not a to-go product for HS patients.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or you have
Sorry.
to go to the bathroom. Like I remember having surgeries and stuff, and like every time I'm like, oh, now I have to rip the tape off again. Like,
yeah, completely agree. I actually, when I was pitching for BioXL, I had pretty big surgery a couple of months prior to that, and I was like still healing, and so I was wearing my own makeshift boxers and my own makeshift kind of dressings. Now it wasn't a Hydrowear prototype, it was just kind of stuff taped in, and I went to the bathroom and one of my dressings fell off down the toilet immediately, and I was just like, oh, this is such a sign that I have to keep doing this, because you know, this is just so ridiculous that we have to do this in this day and age. The other thing I'd say is we've actually published a paper on the impact of HS specific wound care And it's huge. And so I knew I had a problem, but when I started to talk to other people, as I said, it was like, gosh, this is quite a big deal. And in terms of quality of life impact, it actually is quite significant. And there's things that we're so used to doing that you kind of just get on with it. But it kind of does. It takes a lot of time out of your day. It causes a lot of pain. Like Crystal said, the adhesive skin damage is really painful. And what upset me the most about the adhesive ripping and stuff is, like, you have to do it to yourself every day anyway, even though you know it's going to hurt. You're still like, you're trying to reposition the adhesive so it's not sitting on where you had it on yesterday. You know, you're kind of trying to be creative around that. And yeah, so it's a really good paper, and I'm happy to share it with any of your listeners. If they want, they can just email me or contact me, and I'll email it over. But it's just such there is a big impact of the most simplest tasks because of having to dress your HS.
But
so
even
yeah.
like even quality of life, like you said, like there would have been so many times that if I had a product like yours, I could have gone out and done stuff, but I was so worried about having like a sanitary pad fall out my pant leg, or you know, wasting so much time doing dressings. And like a lot of my surgeries would be packed with Vaseline until they healed from the bottom out. So even, you know, wasting product that, you know, if I had a short or something I could have pulled on and off, then I wouldn't have had to undo tape and waste, you know, product every time. And that's another huge thing for patients that people don't consider.
Actually, the briefs for women have an open gusset. You don't have to remove them to use the bathroom. You can just go. So it's
like shapewear almost.
Yeah, it kind of is. So it's really handy, and you can just put your undies over it if you want, or go commando stuff, or you know, you can do whatever you want. It's really handy, I have to say. But yeah, so
before we started, we were talking about your 25-degree-Celsius heat wave in Ireland.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys experienced this, but like in the heat of Ontario, when we get like 35 plus days, adhesive just kind of melts away. Like the sweat just immediately makes things unstick. And I'm sure people experience this when, like, say they go out to like a club or just anywhere that's a little bit too hot. It's such a pain to have to deal with adhesive.
Yeah. And I think one thing I love about the garments is the material that we picked is called micromodal, and it's a really, really breathable fabric. It kind of wicks moisture away from the skin, so you're quite dry. And we tested this in the very early days because we have a hexagon pattern kind of printed onto the garment to help channel away the moisture. And I was sent over to the local gym to kind of put on different prototypes and go on the treadmill to see how my sweat would pool in the garments. And we found one pattern, the hexagon pattern, that the sweat just kind of evaporates straight out through. So it was a really funny, the things you do, there's lots of really funny stories. But yeah, so it's a really breathable, lightweight material, and it's so comfortable as well. But yeah, the adhesive, even if it's not hot, that kind of moist area anyway, and the mobility of it, you know, you're kind of peeling away, or else it peels away and re-sticks, you know, in a kind of a pinches your skin. So yeah, God, we have a lot to deal with, really.
I had surgery a few minutes ago, and I usually joke that one of my superpowers is that tape or adhesive doesn't stick to me anyways. So it just, oh yeah, your product would have been so useful a few months ago for me.
Well, I hope you don't need another surgery or ever need to use Hydro.
Could we maybe this should have been an earlier question, but could we maybe just talk like what exactly the product is? Like, we've kind of danced around it a bit, but could you maybe just say exactly what it is?
Yeah, of course. So I think the first thing that was a problem for me was all the dressings I was buying are rectangles or squares. So that really bothered me. And they don't fold well. They kind of, you know, they you know, they just kind of crinkle and don't really fold nicely with the curves of your body. So I wanted to design a curved dressing, and I wanted to make it easy to fold and bend. So that was the first thing. And I also wanted it to be super absorbent so that it could contain a lot of drainage. So we did that, and we have these lovely little curved dressings that have little crimp lines in them so they fold. It's got a super absorbent filling, so it kind of pulls any exudate or discharge straight into the dressing, so it's not sitting there on your skin. Then I wanted it to have no adhesives whatsoever in contact with the skin because of all the problems we just talked about. And so my idea was for a garment, and it looked, my first prototype looked a bit different, but the function is the same. So I wanted a perforated area over the affected area with HS. So a perforated area, meaning there's holes in the garment so that the dressing can go underneath it. And then instead of securing the dressing to your skin, there's a tiny little 2-pronged fastening tab that's basically got this special micro Velcro on it, and it attaches outside the garment into the holes, through the holes in the garment, and hooks onto the back of the dressing. So you're hooking the dressing to the garment instead of to your skin. But the body conforming kind of nature of the garment means it's really nice and securely retained in place, but it also moves as it moves with your body. It's not kind of pulling off your skin. It's not peeling away. It's just kind of nicely secured in place. So it's kind of a 3-part kit. Yeah, it's a very simple idea, but it's really, really helped me and helped a lot of people using it.
And so, you know, a lot of people probably wonder why we haven't, you know, HS Heroes hasn't talked about HydraWear, but it's because it hasn't been available in Canada. And I know you have spoken about some exciting news that's coming for Canadians.
Yeah, okay, great. I am so excited because we've been contacted by a lot of Canadians, and it's always, you know, it always gets me in the heartstrings because I'm like, oh, we really want to ship to Canada, but we can't because there's different health systems in each country, and each health system has its own different regulatory requirements. And we're a very small company, and there's up until recently just been 4 of us working kind of full time on this. So, and there's one person responsible for regulatory compliance. And it was just basically a workload that was kind of an impossible undertaking until more recently. So I'm really excited to say that we've partnered with an amazing organization called West Tech Health in Canada, and HydraWear will be available in Canada soon. They're working towards getting coverage for the products in each province. Now that's going to take some time, and I don't know the exact timelines, but they will be able to sell it through their website in the coming weeks, I think. I'm not exactly sure, and I would nearly even take a look at their website, westtechhealth.com, and see. Are they based out of Calgary? I think you told me. Yes, actually, they have a few offices. So let me just have a little look. They do have a few offices. I'm on their website now. Visit our HydraWear page. Oh my gosh, sorry, I haven't seen this yet.
We have a world debut. It's
on their website.
That's amazing. This is in real time. Like, how amazing.
This must have just gone live in the last breaking news.
I'm tearing up for you. Like,
I'm tearing up too. This is so amazing. It's oh my god, it looks gorgeous as well. So coming soon, call West to inquire about purchasing. So that's what it says on their website. So that's fantastic. I would definitely keep an eye on their website. And they are the nicest people. And I said to before we started recording, like, Canadians, I think, are just lovely people. as a nation, but oh my goodness, the guys at West Tech Health are just so nice, and they're such good allies for us as a HS. Sorry, as the HS community to have, you know, so they're really on our side, and they're going to be working a lot around education and awareness. It's not just about kind of you know, selling products. They really care. So it's I'm so excited to see that. That's so funny. Sorry now.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
A writer couldn't have written better timing for that.
It looks great. It looks absolutely great. Oh, wow. I'll close it now because I'll just keep looking at that. That's so funny. Yeah, so that's it, coming soon, and I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be available, and for them to, yeah, the coverage part will take time, but it's the work is underway basically. So, yay!
And if
Congratulations.
it isn't covered, most folks should be able to keep the receipts and write it off on the taxes as a medical expense at the end of the year and then get their coverage back. So that's an option for Canadians to do as well.
That's great. That's great. And I love that about you guys, because you are so, every country has their own different information, their different health systems, and I didn't know that basically until you said it there recently, that, you know, it can actually be claimed back as a health expense. So it's really good to know. Thank you.
I wonder if we could also just touch on a project you started during Awareness Week.
Yeah.
A great project, a great awareness campaign.
Yeah. So one thing that really strikes me about the HS community as a whole in every different country is there are so many amazing people and different groups doing different things to raise awareness of HS. And even since I started working in Hydraware and being more, like, I suppose, focused on what's happening, it's just amazing how many more and more events are happening, support groups, like, you know, in-person support groups or Zoom support groups, different walks, all the proclamations you guys got. You know, there's just so much. The one thing that I can't get my head around is the lighting up of all the national kind of monuments and bridges in Canada. And I am actually looking into it. I'm going to copy you guys for next year. I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
We'll light up the world.
I just think it's amazing. Light up the world. Like, wouldn't that be so great if, you know, the HS groups could unite on a project like that? Oh my God, light up the world for HS. And I think the purpose of the Great HS Awareness Campaign is, first of all, to raise awareness of HS, but also to showcase all of the events that are happening and all the work that's being done, and to catalog it, because, you know, the internet is so, things come and go so quickly online. And I genuinely believe that the work that's been done by the different groups is having an impact on the diagnosis rates. And I'm trying to capture that in one place, essentially, where we can demonstrate that the impact of the collective efforts of different groups is reducing diagnostic delay. Because we all know that it takes 10 years plus or beyond 10 years to get a diagnosis of HS. And I think the saddest thing about it is, while you're waiting to figure out what's wrong with you or to find out what's wrong with you, your condition's getting worse, and it's worsening over time for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for me, certainly mine progressed and was really severe by the time, like, I was having multiple surgeries. I'd had surgeries even before I was diagnosed, you know, and I just sometimes wish, oh my God, I wish I'd been diagnosed earlier. And maybe, who knows, maybe this wouldn't have gotten so bad. So I think if we can stop that happening to teenagers today, what a joy and what a legacy to have. through our collective efforts, because there's so much happening, and I just think it's incredible. And I love all the ideas every year. There's something new, and you know, it's just getting bigger and bigger. I think this year's HS week was huge. So yeah, so that's the Great HS Awareness Campaign. We've created some posters for people if they want to bring them into their doctor's office or their pharmacy, and they can be downloaded or they can be mailed. If you want, you can add in your address and we can mail it. And over the, like, as this grows, it's very fledgling at the moment. You know, it's something that it's myself and my colleague Rebecca working on it, and we're, you know, going to grow it, and we want to grow it, and we'd love to collaborate with as many groups as possible and individuals, and kind of just, you know, raise the profile of the condition, because it's prevalent. It's as prevalent as psoriasis and other fairly common conditions, but just for whatever reason just goes under the radar. And yeah, we're really trying to change that, and also to make people individuals. So I'm focused, sorry, in Hydrawear, I'm really focused on kind of raising the profile of the disease among like clinicians, and you know, getting people thinking about it that way, and everyone else, the population, everyone. But I think there's different audiences for different things, and I don't know, I just think there's so much to do. There's so much to do. But if we have, you know, collaborative efforts, I think we will just be unstoppable, and it really excites me. So that's the Great HS Awareness Campaign. It's very new, so go easy on me, but it's just, I hope that it will be bigger and bigger, just like HS Heroes.
And it's uniting groups around the world, which is amazing. You know, like every day there's something new on there. UK, Australia, Canada, US, it's Ireland. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, and actually the Australian group is relatively new as well. And you know, it's so nice to see new groups coming and taking part in different activities, and just, I suppose, trying to do the best we can.
She's amazing. Stephanie and I had met with her via Zoom before, and kind of gave her some of our tips and traits, and we're really, really impressed with like everything she accomplished during this awareness.
Yeah. So that's it. So I can't wait to see what happens next HS Awareness Week. It's gonna be big, I think. Yeah, you're already planning, no doubt. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, because we are from different countries. In Canada, we really struggle with early diagnosis because we have so few doctors who actually know about HS. And when people do even get a diagnosis, it's hard to get in to see the specialists. Is there a long wait time in Ireland as well? Because like we know somebody who had to wait almost 1.5 years, 2 years to get an appointment with one of these specialists in Canada.
Yeah, it is the same. Like in Ireland, we've kind of a two-tiered health system. We've got like the general health system, or the public health system, and everyone's entitled to, you know, see a doctor, and it's measured off your income at what kind of support you get for that. So there's a lot of people that can see their primary care physician and they're not billed for it. If you go to the hospital, anyone in Ireland can attend an emergency room, and there's a very low fee. It's a token fee almost. And so if there is something really seriously wrong with you, you'll be seen, you'll be taken care of. Ordinarily, to be referred to a specialist like a dermatologist, you see your primary care physician and then you're referred, and then there are waiting lists, and it really just depends on the system that you're in and what area you live in. And I know there's some really specialized HS clinics in Ireland, which is great. They're all in Dublin, so there's people from outside of Dublin that will have to travel. There's high demand for these clinics, so there's definitely, you know, an increase in people being diagnosed and needing, I suppose, specialist care. But yeah, so I think there are some pretty long waiting lists. I'm not sure, because I'm in the system now. I just get an appointment every 6 months, and I attend. So I'm under the care of a dermatologist, and it's through the hospital system. So I just go and attend. I think once you're in the system, it's quite routine. I think getting into it is the challenge.
It
That's
sounds
similar for
very
us.
similar. Yeah.
Once we're in, we're kind of in. And my doctor, I know Crystal's doctor as well, are very, very good about when we call and we're saying, you know, we have a very painful flare. They bring us in within like a day or two.
Yeah.
And fit us in. But
Yeah.
I think here, if you don't see that specialist for 2 years, you're kind of cycled out of the roster, and then you would need a new referral, and then it's another waiting game, like to see when you can get in. But yeah, we do a very similar thing. They just do maintenance.
Yeah, same here. If you don't attend appointment, I think there's a kind of a strike system where I suppose it's fair enough if you are given an appointment and you don't show up, kind of wasting their time as well, and they could be seeing another patient. So yeah, you can see why. I'm on a biologic anyway, so I have to go in because I have to get all the blood screening and everything done. So it's like, you know, but if I wasn't well, if I was completely well, I think I would nearly. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been in a position where I'm well enough to even think about it. Huh?
It's triage the way they do their care, kind of like here. I think like depending on the severity, like that's how they triage out who's going to see who and how quick they're going to get in. So
yeah, in my clinic anyway, they always say when I'm leaving, and I'm assuming they say it to everyone, if you have a flare up, if you're in really bad state, give us a ring, call us. I mean, and you know, we'll either counsel you on the phone, or you can come in, because sometimes they just have they kind of see someone if they're in dire straits. So they are very caring and compassionate, and I do think that is quite unique to the HS speciality as well. I think a lot of the doctors in HS clinics specifically know that, you know, the impact that it's having on the patients. My experience is anyway, for the most part, they've been very compassionate and kind and empathetic, which is really nice, you know. So yeah, it's not the worst system.
Our doctors are kind of adamant that we call them too, and not just go to an emergency room. They would prefer for HS patients to call the clinic, because in an emergency room, like, you could be getting, you know, care that is, you know, not appropriate, or care that's going to actually make things worse.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get an incision and drain 99% of the time, right? And and a script for antibiotics. So
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's not the worst. I think I'd love to see like flare clinics actually popping up, and, you know, more dedicated service for HS, but that's a huge undertaking as well, and we'll save that for another campaign.
We're trying to
yeah, flare clinic.
I really like that as flare clinic. That's a great idea.
They'd be out the door, as in they'd be very busy. That's what that
means. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they'd be so busy. So who knows, maybe that can be our next project.
Well, this brings us to the end of our podcast episode. Before we go, Suzanne, do you have any parting words for the patients, caregivers, healthcare professionals listening?
Yeah, I think, and I said this in my story that I wrote for HS Heroes. It's really hard, like, living with this condition, and I think people have to just try to. Sorry, I don't know how to say this properly. You'll have to edit that out, Stephanie. I think it's such a hard condition to live with that you have to take it easy on yourself sometimes, and, you know, don't be hard on yourself for having a nap, or, you know, just having an easy day. And I say that with inverted commas because it's probably not an easy day when you're flaring, but take the time you need, be compassionate with yourself and kind to yourself, and join a support group and get involved as well, because a problem shared is a problem halved. And I definitely have gotten some great advice and support from my peers in the HS community over the years, And sometimes something so big in your head that you make it into this huge problem, and then you share it with another person who understands, someone else who has HS, and they're like, oh yeah, like that's happened to me, or oh, that must be awful. Like there's just a lot of support and empathy and understanding in the HS community. And I think, you know, don't be ashamed, don't feel like you can't talk to someone. And I think as well, seek help and support when you need it, basically. There's nothing wrong with you. That's my message.
Thank you.
Good message.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and a very special thank you to you, Suzanne, for sharing your story and your passion for helping HS patients. Join us next month for another episode of the HS Heroes podcast. And until then, remember, real heroes don't wear capes.